Hello, welcome to my channel, you little weekly sausages. If you've been on my channel for a while, you would have already known that I've made a couple of videos in the past about taking commissions as a digital artist. I've talked about what things you should avoid when dealing with customers. I've talked about what websites you can utilize to provide your services. And I've also mentioned how to make a TOS as well as explaining my full commission process. If you're interested in any of these topics, I'll leave a link below to those two old videos. Today, I want to discuss pricing, and since I'm about to launch a new gig, I'll take you along my thought process when having to price my commissions. I've always found pricing commissions a little bit of a tricky topic, mainly because every artist is different and we are scattered all over the world, so the tax laws and base salary will vary by a lot. With that being said, let's see which services get generally provided by artists who offer commissions. So, what artists would usually do is charge money based on a specific stage of the illustration that the client has paid for. For example, you can offer a sketch for the lowest price, a color blocked version for a little more, a partially rendered one for more, and a fully rendered one for even more. Personally, I never liked this method, mainly because I've realized that after doing it for years, customers only ever choose either the sketch or the fully rendered version. So, what I recommend instead is pricing the illustration based on how much stuff is on it and only providing either a sketch or a fully rendered version. Well, let me explain a little better. What I do is offer gigs for portraits, which show only till the upper torso of a character, half bodies, which show till the hips of a character, or full bodies. Each of these gigs has a sketch version and a fully rendered version. The cheapest ones are the portraits, since less character is visible and it takes me less time to complete. Time and content are the two main factors that I take into consideration when pricing a commission. Therefore, if we don't take into account yet anything related to taxes and such, you can establish how much you would like to be paid hourly for your services. Then, based on how much time on average you spend on an illustration, you can calculate the potential base price for your gigs. And no, getting paid less than $1 every hour is not humanly right, regardless of what you think your level is. Sure, it's important to take into consideration your skill set and the quality you can offer. For example, if I would want to provide a new type of gig, such as, drawing furry art, I would probably charge less, like 7 to 8 euros an hour compared to my usual 10 to 12, because even though I would be confident enough to provide my services, I know that the quality is not going to be top notch because that is not my area of expertise. Now, let's talk about extras. The extras are other added parts of the illustration that are going to be charged if the client requests them. That's why, in my opinion, whenever you create a gig, you should think first of the most basic version of the illustration you'll provide. In my case, when it comes to portraits, for example, the base pack will consist of a fully rendered bust-up character, because that way the illustration can be used freely for a multitude of things. However, as an extra, I've got the option to add a detailed background, because some people would prefer having a full scene going on. You can also give the option to add 1 or 2 more characters as a paid extra. The rights for commercial usage that I talked about in my previous videos are listed as extras in almost all my gigs as well. All these added things will have their price, which I personally always make a little cheaper compared to the base price. I would recommend not going less than 50% though, because I believe that you still have to take into consideration your time and have a sort of a balance. So far, I've talked about very generalized gigs, which I would say are extremely important to start off your commission journey because they can give you a solid base of how much you want to charge for other types of projects. For example, I've recently decided to offer my clients the possibility to request a character design ref sheet, and personally, I wouldn't have been able to establish a price for it if I wouldn't have had my basic gigs serving as inspiration. So yeah, start small and basic. Portrait, half body, full body, sketch and fully rendered. All of them. Establish how long it would take you to finish those illustrations. Multiply that for the hourly rate you chose based on your skill level, needs, and taxes. Write down the base price, come up with extras for each gig, establish a discount for the extras, and write down the price for each of them. And when everything is done, you can think about providing more complex services by using the prices you've already come up with, plus a small discount. The very last thing that is worth mentioning is that you may need to do an extra step after calculating your base price, depending on the website you're using to sell commissions. So yeah, check if the website you're using has some fees and recalculate the prices accordingly. Also, of course, all this applies mainly to digital artists. If you are a traditional artist, I would say you'd probably need to take into account how much of all the different materials you use is going to get used for a specific type of work, and perhaps base your price off of that too. Although, I don't think you would need to worry about shipping because that might get paid by the customers. But please, don't quote me on that. I am not familiar with how commissioning traditional pieces work, so I don't believe I am qualified to give advice in that regard. But I still wanted to help out some traditional artists since I've seen some of y'all commenting on some of my videos. Oh my gosh, I almost forgot to mention that sometimes you'll be asked to change things up in your commission, unless you don't accept revisions, I guess. So my advice for that is to take a certain amount of big revisions, like 1 or 2, during the sketching phase, as it will probably take you way less time to fix them compared to if you would have to do it later on. So if you want, you could take into account how much time it would take you to completely draw something, or just change, let's say, 50% of it. And that's it for now. If you want, you can always check out my commission page to get a better idea of all the things that I yapped about in this video. You can also perhaps check out other artists too to get an idea of what other people are charging, but I don't think straight up copying someone's price is going to be beneficial to you because, again, we are all in different economical situations, different stages in our art journey, and our drawing speed is different. But yeah, let me know if you have any questions. I will answer them as best as I can. And yeah, thanks for watching and listening to my yapping session. Peace!